I always thought acting was a means to change, especially among my own people. I've used media my whole career to make those positive changes. We're gonna smudge that umbilical cord, wrap it in this buckskin. We'll keep it in a cedar box, put it in the house. We do this to keep the kid from wandering too far.
You are Native American.
I am Nooch.
What is Nooch?
It means the people. Man is, from a local community near Patience, Colorado, and I owned Joe's Diner.
Boom, there you go. That was Indigenous representation from SyFy on Resident Alien. I cannot wait to have this conversation, y'all. As y'all saw from the information on YouTube, this is a convo, as you see on the screen, with veteran, just amazing actor. I'm so honored to have him here. Gary Farmer, who plays Dan 12 Trees on Resident Alien. Thank you so much, Gary, for your time today.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Definitely. I gotta thank you for fighting the fight. As a Filipino American, representation is very important to me. I've spoke on it with my work with the Nerds of Color, as well as my own outlet here, the NRW Nerds Rule the World. And to hear that SyFy put together this piece to talk about what they're trying to do to help get the word out and just explain that this is sorely needed, that representation matters so much. I love that they did that. And I'm curious to hear your experiences. I know you've been very vocal about this, so I can't thank you enough for fighting this fight. Not only for Indigenous Americans, but it's a fight for all of us of color that want to have our authentic representation. So if you could tell me just a little bit on how, when this came together with SyFy to speak on this, what did you think about them, kind of putting this out there to help spread the word about this?
Well, I'm not sure. It's kind of relative to, the changes in the world. It's kind of, like passe almost. It's so long time coming. I don't know what this should have been years ago, but, things change slow, and it takes a new generation to kind of see, once the information got out there, especially with the breakout of the internet, information was more readily, available. And so young people know what the history is, even though they won't teach it in the schools. So it's kind of absurd that things haven't changed a lot sooner. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a long fight. It takes a lot of people. It takes us also getting into those leadership roles, I would say, to help fight that
a
fight.
more interesting story. I worked with Lou Diamond for off and on for years, and much more earlier in my career. And of course, Lou is Filipino American.
Yes.
And there was two migrations of Filipinos. It was the early ones, like 1500s or something, and then there was, of course, during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so inspired when Lou invited me for Thanksgiving dinner once to his house, and I met his family. There was like 24 kids, and most of them some of them had cooked for the White House and stuff, and were a big part of the naval situation during World War II. And that's how they all came to America. And it's the first time that all the kids were together in a long time. So I was just so moved by that, because Lou spent a lot of years playing Native American, when his own story, I think he's just getting around to telling it, if he is, but I think he's just getting to it. So,
I found that out recently as well. I've been in the business since '96. I've really never played Filipino. I've played Hispanic roles,
right?
Mainly Puerto Rican roles. Really never my own culture. So it's been a long, difficult journey. I'm curious, for you, why does it matter for you so much? To get that. And can you tell me how things have kind of slowly changed and along the way?
It's probably a better question for a younger actor. To me, it's vital that we all realize that we're all in the circle together, right? Like, until that happens, there's no maturity for that to happen still in this country, in the US, in Canada, in Mexico. They still don't accept. I mean, we have clubhouse talks on, the other, or whatever term CNN used for us as Indigenous people some last year or so. And yeah, until everyone kind of becomes on equal footing, like until I realize that, that Indigenous lands and the value of that, and the value of Indigenous languages I mean, those languages are based on observation over centuries of time. It's
Yeah.
not like they're English or, many of the other European languages. Those are old languages, and they tell us how to survive on this earth forever, and so they don't get it. They never have. And that, after 70 years, it's not my problem anymore. You know what I mean? I
I got
try,
you.
but the young are gonna, as soon
Yeah.
as this generation die, as soon as my generation dies off, things should change to the best if we can sustain that long, and that's the issue.
Well, I think the important, you know what, it's, I hate to agree to that because I don't want you to die off, Gary. You're amazing, but I think in order for us to do that, we have to learn from the old. We got to learn from. So, what do you tell some of these younger actors and behind the camera as well? Because I see amazingness behind the camera on Resident Alien. In order for us to portray on the screen, we need the people behind the camera to be us as well. And tell me a little bit of that, maybe interaction that's occurring on Resident Alien to get that representation better across.
There seems to be a lot of diversity, and of course, women include in that diversity. So, and any director that's been pretty well on our set, outside of Robbie, who's our general, so to speak, it had been of color or women, and that's interesting. No Native American yet, but that's not far off. And just in terms of storyline, trying to help find a positive way into that. I could just see Harry at the powwow, dancing, but there's, we'll see if there's another season to come.
Has for the season that you're recording now or currently recorded, has there been any special moments that you really enjoyed seeing that kind of showed a little bit of that representation?
Oh, all the time. I mean, I think you've seen it already in terms of my own, war experience in Vietnam, which, even though I never served, I had a high draft number. They're at a draft by the time it got to me. But there was a poet who's long passed now. His name was Jim Northrup, and his poetry and his time spent in Vietnam, 66, 67, as a sergeant, basically a grunt, going into the DNA, there were mind expanding for me as a poet. And so when I was brought that, I just used that material to fuel my performance, So, yeah, there's, subtleties that come through all the time, of course. And, Chris is a pretty smart fella. he can, and it's been challenging too for us to perform even more episodes, basically for what seemed like the same money for the first season. So just working with the corporate media is always challenging creatively.
Have they chimed you at all? Being kind of like the elder statesman for some knowledge to make sure.
Not necessarily always, but I don't. That's okay. I'm just happy to see that there's a thread of our storyline in the story, that because my own experience has led me to acknowledge pre-existence on the planet Earth, right? I mean, and how we came to be, even in terms of our creation stories and stuff. There's a lot of possibilities there that you have to discover, which, until there's more trust and confidence and acceptance, it could be an interesting show in the future.
I feel you on that. And I'm hoping, Resident Alien continues on and gives us more. But on an overall level, I'm always fighting the fight as a Filipino American, and trying to think of what I ultimately want to see. And I try to ask myself this question all the time, and I get asked this question. So I'm going to ask it for you. What do you ultimately want to see? What are you striving for the most? What do you, you've done it all, Gary, and you've helped pave the way. And again, I can't thank you enough for helping pave some of that way. What is there anything you can envision right now? If somebody, if a showrunner or somebody with big pockets says, okay, Gary, what do you think? What kind of story would you want to be see told, and who would you want to be involved with that? Just for maybe even people that are watching this that maybe have that pockets to make this happen. What do you want to say to them?
Well, no, any storyline that includes all of us, like the four directions, four race, the medicine wheel, storyline based on the medicine wheel so that we all fit in that circle. And, it's almost like magic realism to help them understand that concept, because if you think about it, we got real close in the 60s, it was like that. And, if you remember the peace symbol, we're like almost there, we just have to go there. But, of course, the bastion of corporatization and government and wealth kind of defeated that, undermined it, police stated it. And so, let's move on, It's time to move on. Earth, this stuff, trying to control people for profit. You just got to let go. But it's too hard. It's too hard for them. So I don't know what to do.
So what do you do to decompress then when the world is like pulling on you? How do you stay creative with all of that?
Music. I play a harmonica. I play a guitar, piano. I perform. I have my own blues band. I can sing. I've produced albums over the years, so a lot of my voice is my storylines and ideas are there, the way I think and how I came to it. A lot of my stuff is in the films. I feel like my, all the films I've did, from Dead Man to Power Highway to Smoke Signals and beyond, and all the current, concurrent series I'm involved with right now, like Reservation Dogs. I mean, sheesh, it's the first time I ever saw kind of a.
I love that show, by the way. I know we're talking Resident Alien, but yeah, Reservoir Dogs is so amazing.
Reservation Dogs again.
Reservation Dogs, excuse me. I'm sorry. Yes. Not the wrong film.
For the first time in TV, you get to see you get to feel the spirit of the people a little bit. They let you in a little bit in a kind of a bizarre, funny way. So that's amazing. I mean, you don't see TV like that. And you all know that television could educate, socialize the world to writing and reading, but it doesn't, because people can't make money from that. But anytime we can educate with programming, it's vital, to keep finding the positive and the light out there, and keep moving forward that way.
Completely agree. Gary, man, again, you've been paving the way for us, and I think it helps us as a whole in regards to representation. Are there anything else we can look forward to seeing you and hopefully again just spreading the word of what you're doing?
Well, in September this year on what is it? I think it's Amazon and BBC, same time release. So folks in Europe will see this. It's called The English. It's a 6-part miniseries. You can look it up. You won't see any Indians there. I find that's interesting. When you try to market television, how they're marketing, they'll put kind of all the non-people of color up front very seldomly. Well, except if they're the star, right? But most of the time, especially with Native Americans, Native Americans will appear like they're not in this show, right? Like they're not a part of the storyline. But because it's a hard sell to American audiences still. I mean, I think that's the reason, right?
Yeah.
They think, oh, Native Americans, that's going to be depressing, and I don't want that today. I want to be entertained. So, I always find that kind of funny.
Mhm.
But yeah, the English, it's called the BBC Amazon. It's kind of the 1875 storylines that you see coming out a lot, popular westerns, and so Emily Blunt helms
Oh, awesome.
along with Chaskey Spencer, fellow from up in North Dakota, well, Montana originally. But I've worked with Chaskey before, and it was wonderful. He plays number 2 in that series, The English, and it's about kind of a woman coming back to find her husband who had come to settle over here. And of course, when she gets here, there's like everybody running for land. It's the big land grab during that period of history. So it's a fascinating storyline. I look forward to seeing that.
Awesome. Well,
Interesting director, really
okay.
interesting director. Really knew everything he wanted. Knew every image he wanted to capture and how he was going to capture it. It's so relaxing as an actor to work with somebody who really knows what they want as a director. So
Awesome.
just that at that level, I just enjoy that work.
I can imagine. Yeah, you've seen it all, Gary. And again, you fought that fight, and we're hopefully, as the next generation, going to continue on that fight to continue authentic representation. But Gary, this was truly a pleasure. Make sure you guys see Gary on Resident Alien and check out The English when it drops later this year. Gary, thank you again so much for your time today.
Kuya P. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, y'all. Gary Farmer, your boy Kuya P with Nerds Rule the World. Again, check out my man Gary as Dan 12 Trees on Resident Alien on SyFy. This was truly a pleasure.